Well, hey everybody, welcome to Senior Living Live. My name is Chris and I am joined here today with Linda Jones.
Hi,
Linda,
Chris.
hey, how are you today?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Great. So Linda, you are the executive director here at the Lakeside at Amelia Island. And I should say we're actually here on location. We're trying some new things with Senior Living Live. We're kind of stepping away from some of the Zoom meetings and things and going into the location. So we're here in a beautiful model apartment here.
So glad to have you. Welcome.
Thank you so
Welcome
much.
to our community.
Every time I come to this community, it is just gorgeous.
It is gorgeous. It is a beautiful, beautiful community.
Yeah. Well, so the Lakeside at Amelia Island, we're going to get into that in a little bit. But before we do that, tell me about you. What makes Linda Jones tick?
Well, Linda Jones, wow, Chris, thanks for asking. I am a registered nurse by trade. I've been in this registered nurse now 35 years.
Wow.
Of that 35 years, I've spent 28 in senior living. While I was in nursing school, I worked as a caregiver in a long-term care community. When I graduated, I went to the hospital setting, got my experience, training, and somehow ventured back into the senior living in 1990. 2000.
The bug had kind of bitten you.
It did,
at that
it
point.
did. And you know what's funny is I ran across a picture the other day of the very first patient I ever took care of. And I remember her to this day, and I had taken a picture of her. So that's led me on a path of caring for a lot of seniors over the course of the years. Sure has.
I bet you have. I bet you've got a lot of stories that you could tell. If only we had time to hear them all.
And how the stories, and how the industry has changed, how the focus on senior living has changed. It's so much better now than it was.
You know, that's something that has interested me in the past, that in relative terms, senior living is really not that old. I mean, the early 90s is when it really kind of birthed. It was skilled nursing prior to that, and then it's kind of come up.
It
so
has
you've really
changed
seen it.
so much. Yes, I was around before assisted living communities came into play. And when all the regulations changed about what required for someone to stay in a skilled nursing home or a long-term nursing home. So assisted living came in about mid-90s, latter part of the 90s. And since I've been with it since 2013, it has evolved even more. So now we're into 2023, and our senior living community is so much different than it used to be. It's more about staying busy, staying active, having fun, having friends, living in a community, and still enjoying life, even as we turn into seniors.
A little bit less about the hospital type settings.
Yes, less clinical focus, more focused on the overall well-being. The clinical focus is still there for that part in the assisted living, our memory care units, that sort of thing. But the independent side, bringing people into the senior communities before they're ready for the clinical side of it, to get them adjusted into living in a community.
Yeah, and we can't say that enough. We've talked about it here on Senior Living Live episodes and others, where it's so important to get used to, because a move is a lot of it's a you've lived in your house for a long time. There's a lot of effort involved in a move, and you probably don't want to do that when you're sick or you've got a broken arm or whatever it is.
For the people that are moving into the independent communities, it's kind of like moving into college. You're back into an environment of your peers. You've come from your home, you've worked, you've retired, now you're coming back into a community living setting. With that is different stages of where you are in your aging process. And then you get used to that environment, and then as you age and different things happen, you're used to the community living and can move into the more clinical side of things, so to speak. But it is evolving. It's still evolving.
Yeah, so coming in earlier may make that transition a
lot
bit easier.
A lot
easier.
Support
system
in
place.
Yeah, when you can make friends and you still enjoy different activities, bands, music, dancing, the different things that we offer in adult living, independent living. You build friendships, you build relationships, and that helps carry you through to the next stages.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we've jumped ahead too far. We got to get back to the Linda Jones story.
Oh, that's right.
And
I've been in senior living for so long, and I'm catching up to the senior population that it's hard to reflect on myself. I've lived in Florida since 2013. Moved here from Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
Proud of it, born and raised. Music City, USA. Moved to Florida. I love the ocean. I love the warm, the sun. We love to fish. We have a boat. So the Linda Jones that's not at work is enjoying outdoors, fishing, my church, all the areas that I serve there. All of our kids live across the United States, so they come here instead of us going there. It's very nice.
You live in the vacation destination.
I do live in the vacation.
Right.
We
And
put a pool.
what better place?
That's right. And we have a pool and the hot tub, and we have the whole gamut. So it's fun. We can be on vacation every weekend.
Yeah, that's perfect. I would love that. So tell me about your transition from you are a nurse, but you were working in the clinical type roles in senior living and skilled nursing, and then you moved. You mentioned 2013, but you moved more into like a leadership type of role.
Right. I moved from the leadership role as the nursing director into the executive director position in 2017 with Arbor, and the reason I did that is I wanted to maintain the culture that we had built at the community that I was in. Mm-hmm. I had been there since the first brick went up, and our values and what we do here in senior living with Arbor, I wanted to make sure that stayed maintained, and we stayed on track with that. I've enjoyed every step of the way. It's been a challenge, but it's been a great challenge. Being the leader in a community of this size, well, any size really, you want to lead people that have that heart to serve others, because that's generally what we're doing. We're serving others, and in a lot of different ways, emotionally, nutritionally, clinically, activities. I mean, we're serving their needs, and so it's been an honor. It's been a joy. It's been challenging, but it's been fun.
It is a big community. So Linda mentioned the size of it. So at this community, the Lakeside at Amelia Island, yes, you've got independent living,
yes,
assisted living,
and memory
care. Plus, I guess part of independent living, you've got some cottages and then these houses, yes, on the property. So
yes,
it's quite a large property.
It's a large property. It's spread out, so it takes you a little while to get from point A to point B, but we have beautiful homes that are on the property that are single family. We have cottages that are kind of like duplex. Then we have apartments for the independent. Then they move into the apartments for the assisted living and the memory care. So we offer a wide scope of living floor plans, so to speak, to whatever that person needs.
Yeah, and it's just gorgeous. I mean, we are in a model. This is an independent living model apartment, mm-hmm, and we picked it for the video, number one, because it's quiet and there's not so many people in the background. But it's huge. I mean, we're in this big, I don't know if you can see in the camera, but we're in this big living room area. Yes. We've got the kitchen behind us. There's this little room that I guess it could be a guest room.
It could be a den, it could be a guest room. I've seen set up as a sewing room, as an office, as an exercise room. I mean, people use that room for all sorts of things. Yeah, and beautiful granite.
There's a big master bedroom over here. Yep. What'd you say, granite?
Yeah. Granite countertops, hardwood floors. State-of-the-art appliances. It's very quiet. You notice you don't hear anything.
Exactly. There's movement in the community, but once you're
inside your apartment, it's very quiet. It is very quiet. Mm-hmm. And I've spent the night here, and it is very quiet. It's like a very well built apartment complex. I've lived in those that you could hear people walking on the floors. You don't hear that here. It's very quiet, which is nice. But it's very, very luxurious. It's warm. It's welcoming. So.
And I like that this community is big in the sense that there's a lot of people, there's a lot of things happening, there's mm-hmm. a lot of things to do and things going on, but it doesn't feel massive. You walk into some of these places and the hallways are so long, and
right.
It just feels grand and massive. But here, it's warm.
Good.
And there's all these little nooks where people can gather, and you see people having a book club or just having. This morning we walked into the dining room and there were some ladies. It was kind of past breakfast, mm-hmm. and there were some ladies that were just still sitting at a table.
They have groups of crocheting. We have a crocheting group. We have an art class. Some very talented artists live here. Very, very talented. We have Bible study that's very strong. We have movie club. We have karaoke, dance. I mean, they have little groups and puzzles. We have a gentleman that works a puzzle every day. Did you see him? He has his whole table, his puzzle. It's wonderful to sit down with him for a few minutes, and I usually sit until I find a piece. But he is constantly working his puzzle. So we have different things that just attract different people.
And I think that's an interesting point to make too, because so just take crocheting club. When this community opened, there was no crocheting club, and there probably wasn't for a year or whatever. But then somebody moved in, and maybe
Somebody
they
wanted to
were
crochet, and
interested.
somebody else said, I want to learn. And there it
There they
develops,
go.
and the next thing you know, we've got crocheted blankets, hats, gloves, and mittens.
There you go. And so it's very resident led.
Very resident led.
You're not going to just have a club just to have it.
No. Because if they're not interested in it, it's not benefiting anyone. So we really try hard to ask, what do you like to do? What did you like to do? This summer, I hope we have some fishing trips.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, we want to take some folks fishing. We hope to have, and we've got symphony-led things where we take them off the island, because we're on an island here. It's a very small island, and there's a lot of fun things to do. So it's not just in the community, it's outside the community as well. We want people to enjoy both aspects of island living, so to speak.
It's sort of enabling people to do the things that they want when it may be difficult to do if you're just living by yourself.
Maybe. And we go through stages in life. We go through seasons. People are at different stages, different seasons, so it's always nice to see them. Perhaps maybe they've moved in after the death of a spouse, and then they make friends, and then they have purpose again. And that is such a joy to see. It's such a joy to see.
Or a new chapter.
A new season, new chapter.
So in your clinical background, I know the former communities that you had worked with the Arbor Company were memory care focused.
Yes.
So you've got a lot of experience in that. What does the transition look like for someone who maybe has moved in independent living and maybe something happens, their needs change, as the aging process doesn't stop necessarily?
No, it doesn't. I think one of the key elements of that, helping someone go through those stages, is those relationships we build on the independent side, so that as things happen, we have the trust level, and then the clinical background to say, hey, you have kind of help them make the decision, it's time to go to assisted living. And 99% of the time, that's successful because of the relationship we've built. And they trust the fact that, okay, it's time, you can't be by yourself anymore. Going from assisted living to memory care, sometimes it's the whole family you're taking care of to get to that point. So the key is, if you move in early, you've got more time to build those relationships and the trust level, and it just helps move the journey, because we do age in place, so to speak. It's comfortable then.
And I would assume, tell me if I'm wrong, but if you're in that crocheting club and you live in independent living, and then something happens and you need to move to more assisted, you don't have to leave the crocheting club, right? That's
right. You can still go to crocheting. And I have a couple now in the independent side that is going over to the assisted living side, just to be a kind of a mentor, kind of being that person they can sit down and just talk to, because a lot of times, life gets busy elsewhere, but it slows down sometimes for us as we get into the assisted living. So having those people from the independent side still join their friends over in AL, the assisted living side, is priceless. It makes them feel more acceptable to where they are in their life, and not just disconnected. All of a sudden, I'm not independent anymore. I still have independent friends that still love me and care about me, and they come see me.
And what a great purpose for that couple in independent living, to be able to kind of give back in that way.
They go back and they like to listen, and be that support, because we all need support. And people go through stages different ways. Some just accept it and jump right into into assisted living and make new friends. Others, not so much. So it helps having that person that they can call and talk about those feelings and, process with.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of people, it takes a lot of people to make this community operate every single day. And so tell me a little bit about your team and what you've discovered.
I've got a great team. I think the biggest thing that I've learned this last year here at Lakeside is this team is they're hardworking individuals. They got good hearts, because they really want to serve our seniors. So we just all try to come together. I try to lead by walking alongside versus in front of, definitely not behind. So in every area, whether it's dining, maintenance, housekeeping, nursing, I try to be a part of that. And as a result, my team is phenomenal. They really give it everything they got. You know.
That's so good to hear. And I can attest to you being hands-on, because we got here this morning to get all set up and everything. And there were a couple of times that we wanted to ask you a question or, pull you aside to come and do this interview. And I would go to your office and you weren't there.
No.
Because you were out, you were helping people and talking to people and reading.
Yeah, they hear my heels clicking when I'm walking down the hall. I get a
They chase you down.
They chase me down. Here she comes. I am not an office-led. I mean, I have to spend my time in the office, but that's not where you'll find me most of the time. You know, I like to be out and about and see what's going on in the community.
So what's the best part of your job here?
The best part of my job. I can tell you that I had a resident, I call him Little Godwink. She came to me yesterday and she said, I just want to tell you something. I said, what? She said, the letter you sent out at New Year's. I said, yeah. She said, I just want you to know how it made me feel. I said, well, how did it make you feel? She said, your last sentence said, thank you for allowing me to be here to serve you in 2023. I have a servant's heart. And that really gave me the validation that I'm in the right place. This is where I'm supposed to be. It's not a job. I mean, it's what I do. It's work, but it's not a job. So that's where I get my blessings. You know, I feel like the senior industry, for whatever reason, my entire life I've loved elderly people. I just have. I don't know. Maybe it's just that's my superpower. I don't know, but to be able to come every day and serve others, and if I make one person happy a day, that gives me that kind of wink, that's a blessing. So that's what makes me thrive.
Kind of gives you the fuel to
kind of gives
to move
it
on.
fills me up. Yeah.
I would guess that maybe that's why you didn't stick to the hospital nursing. And you moved
I
into
loved
this
hospital
format.
nursing. I really did. I worked at a trauma center. I was a lot younger then, and I worked 11 to 7, 7P to 7A. I loved every minute of it. But I had an opportunity to go back to the nursing home as a teacher to teach the CNA students and the nurses kind of staff education. And that led into the director of nursing job, and then that led into, my career.
I feel like that so many people in this industry, it's just one thing kind of led to another, and here
I
we
didn't
are.
set out. Went to nursing school to be an OB/GYN nurse, and I've not yet delivered a baby.
Well, there's still hope.
I know, right? But I've just followed the path that I've been led on, and so it's been senior living. And sometimes you go, wow, how did I get here? The closer I get to the senior age group myself, I'm really grateful because life's a process.
Well, we're grateful that you're here
Thank
also.
you.
So let me ask you one final
Okay.
question, and then I'm going to let you go. What piece of advice would you have for someone who maybe is just starting out in nursing school or is considering working in the healthcare field, and if maybe they're thinking about working in senior living?
Senior living, wow. As I was telling the staff this morning, we have a new hire orientation this morning. Working in the senior industry, if you like to serve others, it's an opportunity to not only serve others, in a well place. You may have clinical place too, but you learn so much from a previous generation. You just do. This industry requires somebody that just follows that dream of learning about life, learning about people, learning about experiences, and you can get that in senior living because you meet so many people from so many walks of life. People that travel over the world, people that have been. I think I took care of the gentleman that gave the apple to the teacher on the Challenger.
Oh, wow.
So you meet and you take care of some amazing NFL football players. I've taken care of them all. So going into this industry, go in with an open heart, and you'll be fulfilled. If you're younger, they like the trauma nursing. Get your education. But if you're led into the senior living, you won't be disappointed. It's just it's a life-changing career. It just really is.
Well, we hear that from so many people in the industry. Well, thank you for joining us today, Linda. I know you've got a busy day ahead of interacting with residents and your staff here in the community. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the opportunity. to talk about senior living. It's a passion. It really is. You know. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, thanks for joining us today for Senior Living Live. If you'd like to hear more stories like Linda's, head over to seniorlivinglive.com where you can find this and others. Until next time, I am Chris, and this is Linda, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.